All right, so if you've clicked on this video, you've probably thought at some point about making money online. Maybe you've considered dropshipping or creating courses or becoming a part-time YouTuber. But when it comes to this building an online business stuff, there is one incredibly powerful opportunity that most people overlook, and that is writing. Now, we're not talking about writing novels, we're not talking about being a journalist, we're talking about digital writing. And the people that do this well are earning at least 6 figures a year, sometimes even 7 figures a year, and they're able to do that from anywhere in the world on their own schedule. But when it comes to building a business through writing, most people have absolutely no idea where to start. Like, how many followers do you need? Do you have to be an expert in something? And most importantly, how do you actually find people who are willing to pay you for your writing? Well, conveniently, that is all the stuff that we are discussing in this episode of Business Class, the ongoing series on this channel where we explore strategies to start and grow your online business so that you can work towards what I call the 5 Fs of fun, fulfillment, flexibility, and of course, financial freedom. If you're new here, hello, my name is Ali and I've been doing this online business thing for over 10 years. I built and sold my first 6-figure business while I was a medical student at Cambridge. I grew my next business to 6 figures while working full-time as a doctor, and a few years ago, I was able to quit the day job to focus on this business, which now generates 7 figures a year in profit and lets me live a life that I absolutely love. I could not have gotten there without the help of a lot of friends and mentors in real life and on the internet. And so in this series, my goal is to share everything that I've learned and that I'm continuing to learn along the way. So if that sounds interesting, you might consider subscribing to the channel and perhaps even joining my free email list where I share even more behind the scenes stuff that can hopefully help you in your own journey. Anyway, in today's video, I am delighted to welcome our visiting professor to Business Class, Nicolas Cole. Now, Professor Cole is one of the world's leading experts in digital writing. He has built multiple 7-figure businesses through writing online, and he's helped thousands of people from all around the world go from completely zero to making a full-time living with their writing. So today's lecture is going to be a masterclass in building a $10,000 a month writing business, even if you're starting from scratch. Part 1, the biggest myth about online writing. We want to teach people what is their fastest path to actually making money as a writer. Because a lot of people still kind of think that writing is a thing that you can't really make money from it. I've just published a book, traditional publishing. People are like, oh, do I find an agent? Do I get a book deal? What do people get wrong about making money online as a writer?
Okay, most fun question on planet Earth for me. So we'll start with the mistake. So the mistake that writers make, I think, is thinking that you need to have a ton of attention in order to start monetizing. So everyone thinks step 1, I need 1 million followers. So already wrong, because if I told you tomorrow you had to go give a speech in front of 1 million people, you would have an anxiety attack. You don't need 1 million followers. Second is they go, okay, well, maybe I don't need 1 million followers. I just need 100,000 or I need 10,000. Reduce the number. Okay,
I need my 1,000 true fans, right?
Yeah, okay, so still wrong. And the reason, there's all these different paths you can take to monetizing your craft. Any craft, we'll use writing as the example. The fastest path, though, is not selling a product, it is selling a service. Because if you think, and everyone in the creator world talks about selling digital products, right? You sell an ebook, you sell a course, you sell a cohort-based experience, whatever it is, right? But that's not actually the fastest path, because most of those products, if not all of them, are priced in a couple $100 or less. Or if you're selling an ebook, it's like $10 or $20, right? The lower the price point, the more volume you need. So it sounds really easy to go, okay, well, I can make, 5 or 10 grand selling a $200 course, for example. But you have to play that out and go, okay, well, how many of those do I need to sell every month in order to sustain 5, 10, 20K a month,
sure,
right? You need volume.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a physical book.
Or a physical book is
my book has sold a lot of copies. Well, sold like 200,000 copies, but I still haven't
that many.
I still haven't paid off the advance. And our royalty percentage is, I think I'm allowed to share this, about like 15%.
Oh, you got 15?
Yeah, we got 15. We got a good deal. We got a decent deal. We got 15%. But it's like, I make maybe £1.50 every time I sell a book.
Yeah, no, it's a horrible.
So I need to sell a lot of books to make a living as a professional writer if the thing that I was making money from was selling books.
Yeah. The reason why there's the whole cliche, nobody makes a living as a writer, is because of course it's going to be hard to make a living as a writer when the thing that you're selling is priced at $20. There's no recurring revenue. Most people buy a book once, they don't buy it again. And then your deal in that is you get 10% of the revenue. So you're not even getting all $20, right? You're getting $2. And so then that leads to the cliche, well, nobody makes a living as a writer, right? And that's wrong. And so your fastest path, if you're sitting there, and I think so often people have this conversation where they go, I want to make money, every option is available to me. Well, no, every option isn't available to you. There's usually one thing you're trying to optimize for in your life. And if you're working a full-time job and you're like, I want to get out of my full-time job, your number one concern is how do I replace my full-time income, right? So your fastest path to replacing your full-time income is not selling products, because products take longer because you need to build an audience in order to sell them, and you need to sell them in volume. It's much easier to go find one client that is willing to pay you $3 grand, $4 grand, $5 grand to do something for them. So it's actually monetizing through a service. So your fastest path as a writer to 5K as a side hustle, 10K, 20K, replacing your full-time income and then some, is to just go find one person and go, I can help you solve problems in your business.
Okay.
It's not to go be some viral creator. You can do that, just do that later.
Oh, by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, then you might like to check out my completely free 7-day focus crash course. It's at focuscrashcourse.com. It's completely free. You enter your email, and then every day for 7 days, I'll send you an email that has some principles and strategies and evidence-based tips on how to become more focused. So completely free. Check it out. All right, so we've just talked about the biggest myths about making money online as a writer. We're now going to go into Professor Cole's 5 steps for making 10K a month through writing online. Step 1, identify your information advantage.
Let's rewind. We'll do a bit of a role play. Let's say I'm 26 years old. I've been working 2 years as a doctor in the UK's National Health Service. And I'm like, I think I enjoy this medicine thing, but, if I project out 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, will I continue to enjoy it? I'd love to have, if I could have 5K a month coming in, I'd be able to quit my job and be able to take my gap year, be able to travel around the world. And then I could always come back to medicine later if I feel like it.
Yep.
But I sort of feel like, I don't know, I just went through med school. I don't really have any skills other than the stuff around being a doctor.
Okay, so step 1 is you have to identify your information advantage. So most people, this is how they start. They go, I'm not happy. I've decided I want to do something different. And then they just let their imagination run wild. And they look at you today, like, Ali, this world-renowned 5 million plus YouTube subscribers, productivity expert. And they're like, I want to be that.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, you didn't start there. Your goal is not to just imagine and think, what is the most legendary version of myself and how do I go be that tomorrow? Because that's not how the game works. It is so much easier to start by asking yourself the question, where do I already have an information advantage?
What do you mean by information advantage?
So information advantage is you've been working as a doctor for 3 years, right? You graduated medical school, whatever. You inherently know more about that subject than someone who hasn't had those experiences, right? It's inherent. The problem is we all take the knowledge that we have for granted.
Yeah, because everyone I know is also a doctor. So it's like big whoop being a doctor.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So to the classmate sitting next to you, you're like, I don't know anything, or I don't know anything different, right? Yeah. But remove yourself from that classroom and you actually know a lot relative to the entire population, right? So step 1 is recognizing in yourself, what information do you take for granted? Because that information is what allows you to go help someone. So thinking of it in the reverse, if I run a biotech company, for example, do I want to hire someone who speaks and understands medicine and that health and wellness industry? Or am I just going to go hire some random person that has no idea what any of those terms mean? So the misunderstanding and why I say that ghostwriting is the fastest path to monetization is because anywhere you have an information advantage, you're already fluent in that industry.
All right, so the key takeaway here is that we all have our own information advantages, and the only thing you really need is to just be a little bit more of an expert in something than someone else, ideally than the person that you are selling to. That doesn't mean you need to know absolutely everything about a particular topic, you just need to know more than the average person. And the way that I often think of this is, it's okay to be a guide, you don't have to be a guru. I think a lot of people hold themselves back with this idea of like, I'm not enough of an expert in thing X, therefore I couldn't possibly build a business around thing X. But if you have an interest in the thing, if you've spent some time reading or learning about the thing or watching videos about the thing, if you've spent time doing the thing, even if you're not an expert in the thing, you still probably know more than most people. And as long as you're not trying to front or trying to fake expertise when you don't actually have it, you can be pretty authentic and honest with how you're approaching your particular expertise. You can be a guide, you don't need to be a guru.
And if you do start to make some money writing online, then you might want to invest that money with a service like Trading 212, who are very kindly sponsoring this video.
Trading 212 is a fantastic app that lets you invest in stocks and shares and funds in a commission-free fashion. They've got a great social pies feature that lets you copy the investment of other successful investors, as well as managing the allocations of your own investments. You can browse all of the different pies and see what other people's asset allocations are, and then if you want, you can literally just copy and paste that specific pie or asset allocation into your account. So for example, let's say I created a pie that invests 50% in Apple and 50% in Tesla, then you could just copy that and you can invest your, let's say, £100 based on that allocation as well. They also have a new Trading 212 card that gives you 1.5% cash back on purchases that you make with it. And this is designed to seamlessly integrate with your Trading 212 Invest account and lets you earn cash back on your daily purchases while also compounding interest on your uninvested cash in 13 different currencies. The card is also free and there are no sneaky fees or subscription plans. So if any of that sounds up your street, then check out the link in the video description and that will take you to this page where you'll be guided on how to sign up for an account. And if you use the promo code Ali, A-L-I, that will give you free fractional shares worth up to £100. So it's free money, you might as well sign up. All right, so step 1 was to identify your informational advantage. And now we move on to step 2, which is sell to businesses.
So at this point, a lot of people, a lot of medics I know, and this was me back in the day, would have said, okay, I have an information advantage in that I got into med school. So why don't I just do tutoring for people to help them get into med school? ...
Yeah. Okay. So now think about who you're selling to.
Yeah.
So tutoring, who are you selling to? Well, you're most likely selling to broke college students or people in med school, right?
Yeah. Or their parents if they're applying to med school and the parents are rich, for example.
Yeah. But tutoring is already price anchored to a certain thing, right? Like most people, like how much are you willing to pay hourly for tutoring? Most tutoring is
in the
priced
tens
hourly.
of dollars per hour.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
So the second thing is you have to go, okay, I have an information advantage. Now, who is the most affluent customer, right? Well, it's a biotech startup that just raised $30 million, or it's an executive for a pharma company, or it's, right? All of those businesses, to them, $5,000 is nothing, $10,000 is nothing. But if you go pitch, a parent of a kid who needs help via tutoring, $10,000 is a lot of money. Right. So the second thing is going, okay, I have an information advantage. Now, who are all the customers that would be willing to pay me a premium to help them solve something in their business?
Yeah, this is already, I think, a massive, sort of mind-blowing thing for people to realize that different people value money at different levels.
Significantly differently.
And especially businesses value money at a completely different way than individuals do.
Yeah.
How did you first appreciate this sort of disparity in how people think about money?
Well, I mean, the honest answer is I just undercharged for a long time until it became so painfully obvious to me that I was undercharging. Like when I was first starting out, I remember charging $25 or $50 an article and thinking, the jump from 25 to 50 was a lot. I was like, oh, I'm charging a lot. And then the jump from 50 to 100 was a lot. And there was a story that I tell sort of often in our programs is there was a moment where I was pitching a ghostwriting client. I was probably 27 and we met in this restaurant in LA. And he was hiring me to ghostwrite this white paper for a crypto startup they were trying to launch. And I remember going into the meeting being like, okay, how much should I charge? I'm going to throw an outrageous number in the air. And I remember I mustered up the courage. And I was like, I'm going to charge $10,000 to write this white paper. And we were sitting in the meeting and it all goes great. And then he goes, all right, so what's the damage? How much is this going to cost me? And I said, and at the last minute, I almost backed out, but I was like, it's going to cost $10,000. And I waited. And he looks at me and he goes, I just want you to know that I was prepared to pay 3 times that, but you already said the number, so $10,000 it is. And I walked away from that meeting going, I have no idea how to value my value.
Yeah.
And I think that's something where it doesn't matter. I see it in our Ghostwriting Academy all the time too. We train ghostwriters to build and write these educational email courses for people. We go, you can sell this for $5,000, no problem. No matter how many times we tell them you can sell this for $5,000, there's a large percentage of people who the first time they pitch it, they can't even get the words $5,000 out of their mouth. And it's usually only until you experience it a couple times where you're like, wow, everyone's saying yes to $1,000. Like maybe I should charge more, right?
Alrighty, so the key takeaway here is that if you really want the fastest path to making a full-time living as a writer, you need to find a small number of people willing to pay you a large amount of money. You do absolutely not want to go the direction of trying to get a large number of people to pay you a small amount of money. For example, my book, Feel Good Productivity, New York Times and Sunday Times bestseller. This is not making very much money because I make maybe $2 or $3 per sale of this book, maybe even less. I need to get a hell of a lot of people to buy this book. It's really, really, really hard to get 250,000 people to buy a book. It's so much easier to get one person to pay $250,000 for a particular project, or to get like a handful of businesses to pay you 5K a month, 3K a month, 10K a month. And this is something that is absolutely worth emphasizing. If you are trying to start a business, it's, let's say the goal is to get to 10K a month, right? Like one way of doing that is to get 10,000 people to pay you $1, right? Another way of doing that is to get one person to pay you $10,000. Another way of doing that would be to get, 5 people to pay you $2,000, or finding 2,000 people to pay you $5. Unless you're experienced in this business thing, you would think that these are kind of equivalent, or maybe even it's easier. Surely it's easier to find 2,000 people to pay me $5 because $5 is nothing. But actually, no, it does not work like that. Essentially, the smaller number of customers you're targeting and the higher ticket that price point is, the easier it is to find those people, and generally the easier it is to make that sale. Now, at this point, we are going to fork paths a little bit because there is actually an alternative path that you can use to make money as a writer early on. And so now we're going to talk about our alternative step 2, which is to do free work.
The second thing in this whole, what is your fastest path to 10K a month? I would actually, and I often advocate for the step before that, which is you shouldn't even try and charge for the first thing that you do. You're level 1, right? Like you having 10 copper or 0 copper at level 1 makes no difference. Yeah. You can't buy anything with 10 copper anyway, right? So a lot of people, whenever I talk about the ROI of free work, everyone comes back and they're like, no, you should get paid what your worth is and your value, and you should never do free work, and don't let people take advantage of you. And I'm like, you're thinking about it completely wrong. In the beginning, free work is basically a marketing cost. It is a way to remove all friction and get yourself paid in experience, credibility, pattern recognition, right? So all of a sudden, you don't have the constraint where you go, all right, I'm going to charge $3,000 for this. And someone goes, no. Okay, want to know how you remove that barrier? You don't charge $3,000. And you just say, I'll do it for you for free. And everyone thinks, no, that's a short-term loss. But if I told you, you're going to go pitch that service for $3,000, and it's going to take you 9 months to get someone to say yes. Or you could pitch it to someone for free today, do a project, and then the next month have something to point to that you can ladder up to a client month 2. Which one would you take? And it's only in hindsight, or once you explain that person goes, oh, I would do the second path. But that's not what most people do.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that in the beginning, getting paid in cash is actually not the most valuable thing for you. You want to get paid in confidence. I can do this. You want to get paid in building a network. Oh, now I know someone who can introduce me to other clients. There are a lot of things more valuable than getting paid $100 or $1,000.
So the key takeaway here is that building the skill of being able to provide enough value to be able to charge for it to make money, that is more important than the money itself, at least at the start. At the start, you're trying to learn, you're not trying to earn. And so doing work for free is often the fastest path to getting started and learning the really valuable skills, building your portfolio, getting testimonials. And to be honest, this is a secret that no one really tells you. At the point where you start charging a lot of money for your service and people see your testimonials, no one needs to see how much you charged those clients in those testimonials. The 5 testimonials that you have on your website or whatever, those might have been clients that you worked for free, but your client who's paying you $10,000 doesn't need to know that. All they see is the testimonial itself. It is quite hard when you're a complete beginner and you have no experience under your belt to get someone to pay you money for something. It's doable, but you have to get pretty good at sales, and we're going to talk about that a little bit further on. But as soon as you offer something valuable for free, now it's super easy to get someone to say yes because everyone wants something valuable for free. And then you deliver on the value, you get a sick testimonial, they're super happy. They'll probably want to start paying you for more work now because they're so happy with the work that you've done. They'll probably refer you to their friends because now they're so happy with the free work that you've done, and you have a sick testimonial for your website. All right, so we've talked about identifying your informational advantage. We've talked about selling to businesses rather than to consumers, and we've talked about the alternative path to doing free work, although even that free work should ideally be for a business rather than for a consumer. Let's now move on to step 3 in the process, which is the problem pitch.
So I'm a junior doctor. I have an informational advantage in medicine. I know I like writing. I used to write essays in med school, and I liked, I had a personal blog back in the day and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Who could possibly want to pay me $5,000 a month to help grow their LinkedIn presence? And yeah, it would probably be a big pharma executive. Maybe the CEO, maybe someone in the C-suite, maybe someone who's the VP level or director level or whatever.
Let's go simpler than that. Yeah. The family friend of yours who's a doctor, and they have a small business,
have a private practice.
And they have a private practice,
and they want to create content on LinkedIn to help promote the fact that they're like a shoulder and blah, blah, blah surgeon or whatever, or dermatology,
exactly.
That kind of thing.
My dad's a spine surgeon. Okay, so how does my dad get more people to know that he's a great spine surgeon? You either put your name up on Google and hope.
Yeah.
That's one strategy, which is what most of them do.
Yeah.
Or you go, I'm going to start taking this into my own hands. I'm going to start educating people, right? What are the reasons people have back pain? What are the ways to get rid of back pain without surgery? If you have surgery, how do you recover faster? What foods should you eat? What exercises should you do? Right? So it doesn't take very long. You start thinking through it and you're like, okay, well, that's pretty easy. And I bet your information advantage would allow you to do that. And how many doctors are there in the world?
Loads.
Like a lot, right? So you don't need all the doctors. You need one doctor.
Okay. And so what am I pitching then? Let's say I come up with a list of 3 family friends who are all doing private practice in, one's a spinal surgeon, one's a radiologist, and one's a dermatologist. And I'm like, sweating, thinking of sending these emails. What am I saying?
Okay, so this is awesome. So irresistible offer script. We'll just do it like word for word. Okay, so I'm going to stick with the spine example because I'm familiar with it. Okay, so first thing is you have to do your homework and understand, well, what does this person do and what do they specialize in and what's their problem? Another big mistake, most people will go apply for a job on Upwork or Fiverr, right? When you do that, what you're effectively doing is raising your hand going, I have no control, I have no pricing power, I have no leverage. I am applying for the job. You tell me what you need and I will do whatever it is that you ask. Okay, as a result, that is why you have no pricing power, because the power dynamic is wrong, right? They are the boss, you are the employee. In order to charge more, you have to flip the power dynamic. You have to go to them and you have to educate them on a problem they didn't know they had, or a problem that they know they have, they just haven't gotten around to fixing, right? So you go to the doctor, you go, problem. You want higher quality customers. You have a private practice. You want more people who are interested in back surgery, but like a specific type of back surgery. So for example, my dad specializes in minimally invasive spine surgery. Okay, so it's like, that's the type of person you want to attract, right? The problem though, is that you don't know how to find them. They don't know whether they can trust you or not, etc., right? The reason that problem is happening is because you have a website that isn't optimized for anything. And it would be really easy to find those people on LinkedIn. You just need to start creating content, right? And the ultimate negative consequence of that problem is that until you start educating people, you're just going to sit there and you're going to hope that customers walk through the door. Okay. So if you start with that like little mini problem script, it's impossible for the other person to sit there and go, I'm not listening, right? Of course they're listening because you just educated them on the whole problem of their business, which is not hard. Okay. Then once you've educated them on the problem, because they can't care about the solution until they care about the problem. So you first anchor them in the problem. Then you go, the solution to this would be if we started educating people on minimally invasive spine surgery on LinkedIn. Be really easy. Here's some sample topics, right? The benefits of doing this is that we would be able to start reaching people that would either be interested in this or would maybe know someone who's interested in this. And then ultimately, we could move that social audience over to our email list. And we could even run like localized ads if we wanted to against that email list. We could do retargeting. And the ultimate positive outcome of that is if we do that, you will have significantly more control over lead flow for your business. Problem script, solution script, and then they go, okay, that all makes sense. So how much? So you have to go through all of that before you go, oh, no problem. So we can create social content for you every month. It's $3,000 a month. I take care of the ideas, the writing. All I need is about 30 minutes of your time. Once a month even, we could do a quick recap call. You've already written a book, so I can pull a lot of the content from that book. And that's it. Happy to help.
And is this all in a single email? Like what is the process of setting this out look like?
So that would be the call. Oh, so fine. To get them on the call, right, is you start, we have a phrase we talk about all the time, which is in the beginning, your niche is your network. So you have an information advantage. Your niche is the fact that you have a family friend who's a doctor. Okay, great. That's the first person you should go pitch because they are most likely to answer your text or answer your email or answer your call, right? So the first thing is you open with problem. Hey, know it's been a long time since we chatted, Uncle, Uncle whoever. Quick question. I was thinking about your business. How do you typically get customers? Is that something that you've been thinking about? Are you struggling to get leads in your area? Tell me about what's been going on.
Okay.
That could be a text message. That could be an email.
Sure.
That's
and then Uncle Johnny might reply to that.
Yeah.
Saying, oh yeah, it's actually been kind of hard. We advertise on Google, but nothing happens.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
And then you go, cool, I've got a couple interesting ideas. Why don't we hop on a call together and I'll walk you through how this works. I've found something that I think would be really beneficial for your business. Uncle Johnny goes, all right, cool. I got 30 minutes on Thursday. And then you go through problem script, solution. Here's what I would do for you. So that is significantly easier than going, how do I build an audience of 100,000 people and sell 200 courses a month, every month, forever, right?
Alrighty, so that was step 3, the problem script. Let's now move on to step 4, which is to talk in education, not sales.
Yeah, I had a mentor in Chicago who used to say, you are never selling anything to anyone. You are giving them an opportunity. Everyone knows when they're getting pitched, right? So the whole methodology that I'm a firm believer in is you want it to all sound like free consulting. Everything that you do, every text message, every email, every phone call, every Zoom call, it should all feel like, hey, I see what you're doing. I can't help myself. Like, you're making a mistake. I just wanted to point it out and help you. Do with it what you will. I just wanted you to know, right? And when you do that, the other person can't help but go, well, you just educated me on a problem, and now I know I have this problem. And then inevitably they go to you and say, so is that what you do? And then you go, oh yeah, no, that is what I do. I specialize in that. And then they go, can you help me? And you go, sure, I'd be happy to help, right? So you're not pitching them and going, buy from me.
Yeah.
You're educating and like guiding them until they're forced to go, I need someone to help me. Is this what you do?
Nice. That sort of takes the fear out of selling, because even in the way I'm describing it, I'm using the word pitching, which even subconsciously has a certain energy about it that feels like I'm trying to sell something.
Yes. If you understand the power of that and you build that skill where you don't talk in sales, you talk in education, you will make money forever. Because that is the bottleneck. The bottleneck is not someone going, do I want to buy from you? Yes or no. The bottleneck is that the person doesn't usually know the problem that they have. It's very reverse psychology, but also it can be summarized, I think, really simply in abundance mindset or scarcity mindset. When someone is overly pitching you, right, you pick up on this scarcity that they have, right? Because they're like, I need this client, which inevitably makes the other person feel like, well, why do you need clients because no one wants to work with you, right? And then you like get turned off from it. But an abundance mindset is like, hey, I'm good on clients. I'm actually full.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point this out to you because I think it would be helpful. And that abundance makes the other person feel like, well, if a lot of people want to work with them and if they're so abundant with what they have, it must be really great. I do want to work with them. So it actually doesn't matter whether you're full or not. It doesn't matter if you have 10 clients or not. It's the energy of, are you operating from scarcity or abundance?
I really like this key takeaway. This really helped me when I struggled with sales a few years ago in my own entrepreneurial career, which is that really our goal is simply to educate rather than to sell something. We're just giving someone free education. We're just helping them out of the goodness of our hearts. And the law of reciprocity is if you give someone valuable stuff for free, they will want to find a way to pay you back for that. All right, let's move on to step 5 now, which is to generate lots of leads. And as you'll see from when I had the conversation with Professor Cole, I was pretty surprised by what his response was to this section.
Like, what's your sense of how many emails, like, assuming I was going to go cold, like I'm reaching out to local doctors in my area who I only have a tangential connection to, i.e. the fact they live in my area. How many emails does it take to get a response, to get someone on a call? Do you have a sense of what these numbers are?
I would say, so even still, I would not recommend even opening the door of cold leads until you have fully exhausted warm leads. And the way I think about leads in general is I put them into 2 different categories. I call them leaks and faucets. So a leak is someone who goes, my sink is leaking, help me. Right? So a leak is someone who has the problem that you can help. A faucet is someone who goes, my faucet's running fine. I don't need your help, but I know lots of other people who do. So they become a conduit to other people.
Okay.
And so one of the biggest missed opportunities is people go, well, I'm going to go pitch, all these cold leads. No, you should start with all the people that you know, go to each of them and go, do you have a problem? If yes, I can help you. Or, hey, I'm trying to grow my ghostwriting business. Do you know anyone who needs help creating content on LinkedIn, or anyone who is creating on LinkedIn but needs help moving that audience over to an email list, right?
That's interesting. Like I remember coming across that line somewhere. It might have been in one of your books. And often messaging someone or emailing them saying, "Hey, do you know someone who's looking for this sort of thing?"
Nobody does it. It's the easiest thing.
Either they know someone, or chances are they'll be like, "Oh, actually, I could kind of use some help with that myself."
Yes.
But it feels like a more gentle pitch than, "Can I help you grow your content on LinkedIn," or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, do you know anyone who might be looking for this?
All right, so warm leads are people that are already in your network in some way or another. They know you in some way. And cold leads are people who have never heard of you. And now we're going to talk about the numbers that you need to hit in order to try and target these sorts of people.
What we tell people in PGA is, if you're starting warm with your network, you should begin by making a list of 50 people.
50? 50?
Yeah, 50.
Oh.
Leaks and faucets.
I was thinking 5.
Yeah, no. 5 is like you took, one step into the starting zone and like killed 2 boars and then are like, why don't I have all the epic gear, right?
Yeah,
so starting warm, you should make a list of 50 people that you know that either might need your help or might know someone who need your help. If you're going cold, minimum, you need to reach out to 100 people. And I don't mean go get some software tool where you scrape emails and then just copy, paste, spam, send 100 emails or 100 DMs. I mean, identify 100 quality people, do your homework on each one, send them a message. If they respond, create a loom, problem script, outcome solution script, pitch them, right? Like, you should go through that entire process for each of them. And only then should you go, okay, I genuinely did my homework and genuinely educated 100 people and 0 said yes. And even at that point, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It means you have a problem, you have a bottleneck somewhere in there, and your job is to identify that bottleneck, remove it, and do it again.
What are your thoughts on using ChatGPT to automate some of this outreach and stuff?
I think the big misunderstanding with AI is everyone wants to automate things they've never done before. You can't automate something that you haven't done. And even if someone tells you how, you don't understand it. So you're not getting the full value out of it. So this is one of those just like first principle beliefs that I have, which is, the metaphor I like using is, if you were to run a marathon, you would train with ankle weights so that by the time you ran the marathon, you would take the ankle weights off and it would be easier, right? So whenever I'm doing something, I always ask myself, what are the ankle weights? So in the beginning, it seems like the longer road to go, I have to go educate and talk to 100 people. Well, yeah, in the beginning, that is the longer road instead of just, trying to automate the whole process and defer to technology. But after you do that, you are significantly more educated about the process, how to do it well, what drives the outcome, what are the mistakes. That then allows you to leverage tech. But if you skip that step, you think you're taking the shortcut, and then guess what? Shortcut ends up being the longer road because you skipped the whole learning.
Yeah.
All right, so the key takeaway here is that if you do want to make money online as a writer, or in fact with any business, you need to generate lots and lots of leads. And you've got to start off by doing that by yourself, by going through the whole process yourself so that you understand how it works. You can always add in AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude and whatever further down the line, but trying to use them as a crutch early on because you can't be bothered to actually do the work, you're probably not going to make it if that's the case. Now, in my own journey of entrepreneurship, writing has actually been a really significant part of the process. And a few years ago, I made this video over here, which is how writing online made me a millionaire. This is a different method than the one that Professor Cole is talking about here. It is more of a creative first, audience first approach to making money through writing. So you might like to check that out over there if you are interested. Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.